Jason Corley continue to serve as county commissioner. He is the lawful party holding the office of County Commissioner Precinct 2 of Lubbock County, Texas.
Jason Corley prevails in his push to get his seat back. A visiting judge has ordered him to resume office after a dispute over his decision to run for Congress. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. Christie's off today. That decision means County Commissioner Jason Corley will be back in his seat for Monday's meeting. And KCBD News Channel 11's Brittany Crittenden was at that hearing and joins us with the arguments. Brittany?
Case visiting senior judge Patrick Pirtle made that decision at the Lubbock County Courthouse this afternoon after County Judge Curtis Parrish removed Corley from office last week. He appointed Mark Muir to the seat, and Corley sued Muir to take it back. Judge Parrish claimed on the stand today Corley automatically resigned his seat when he sent out emails from a Corley for Congress address and said he was running for Congress in a text message. He says those actions identified Corley as a candidate, triggering the resign to run law. That state's elected officials with more than a year and 30 days left in their current term must automatically resign before announcing their candidacy to run for another office. Corley argued he's had that email address since his first run for Congress in 2014, and the language in the text he sent was a, quote, typo. He claims he didn't become a candidate until his official announcement you see there on December 2nd. Muir's attorney told us they would be filing an emergency appeal today and asking the court to issue a ruling over the weekend. Judge Parrish says Lubbock County will obey the court's order, but he won't comment further on this case since it's pending litigation. We'll hear more from Corley about being back in his seat coming up at 5. Case.
Okay, thanks, Brittany.